The message came on a Tuesday. Lieutenant Jack Morrison stared at his monitor in the deep space listening post, rubbing his tired eyes. For 3 years, he had listened to the empty static of space. Today was different. "Sir, you need to see this," Jack called to his supervisor. The pattern repeated every 127 seconds. Mathematical, deliberate, impossible to dismiss as random space noise. Within hours, the transmission reached every major government. Within days, Dr. Lisa Wright cracked the basic structure. Within weeks, she understood enough to know it wasn't meant for humans at all. It was a message between alien ships that had accidentally reached Earth. "They don't even know we're listening," Lisa explained to the hastily formed First Contact Committee. Her fingers traced the strange symbols projected on the screen. "There are references to at least 27 spacefaring civilizations in this transmission. None of them are us." 3 months later, humanity got its answer when massive ships appeared beyond the moon. They called themselves the Galactic Conclave, a coalition of advanced species that had ruled the stars for millennia. Ambassador Daniel Green led Earth's delegation to the meeting point on the International Space Station, expanded for this historic occasion. His heart raced as the airlock opened, revealing the alien representatives. The aliens came in various forms, some insect-like with multiple limbs, others resembling upright lizards, and one that seemed made of shifting crystal. Their translator devices hummed as they approached. "We greet the dominant life forms of this world," announced the tallest alien, a blue-skinned humanoid with 4 arms. Daniel stepped forward. "On behalf of humanity and Earth, we welcome you to our home." The alien delegation exchanged glances, the crystal being emitted a series of tones that their translator converted to English. "We are addressing the sentient species of this planet," it clarified. "These biological units appear to be primitive bipeds, not the actual civilization." Daniel's smile faltered. "We are the civilization. Humans built everything you see." The aliens seemed confused, then dismissive. During the 3-day conference that followed, the pattern became clear. The conclave refused to accept humans as equals. They study humans like animals, asked to speak to the real leaders, and discussed Earth's resources as if no intelligent life existed. "This is unprecedented," the blue alien told his colleagues, not bothering to lower his voice. "A pre-sapient species with basic technology, but no true consciousness. Fascinating, but ultimately insignificant." On the final day, they delivered their verdict. The crystal being's translator produced the words flatly. "Earth is granted protectorate status within the conclave. We will establish outposts to monitor development and extract necessary resources. The bipeds will not be harmed unless they interfere." "This is unacceptable," Daniel protested. "We demand recognition as a sovereign species with full rights." The lizard-like alien made a sound like laughter. "Sovereignty requires sentience. You are clever animals who have stumbled upon tools you don't understand. Be grateful for our protection." As the aliens departed, Jack Morrison monitored their ships from his listening post. He noticed something troubling: detailed scans of Earth's military installations and defense systems. "They're not just dismissing us," he told Lisa Wright over a secure line. "They're assessing if we're a threat." Lisa looked out her window at the stars, suddenly seeming much closer and more dangerous. "What happens when someone underestimates an animal?" "They get bitten," Jack replied. A small smile crossed Lisa's face. "Then let's show them our teeth." The aliens left Earth without a proper treaty, without respect, without acknowledging humans as anything more than clever pets. They would return in 6 months to begin establishing their presence. They didn't know that humans were already preparing. In underground facilities and classified meetings, Earth's leaders made plans. The conclave had made a critical mistake. They had refused to acknowledge humans. 1 year after first contact, the world had changed. Nations that once fought each other now worked together under the newly formed United Defense Initiative. The UDI operated from an underground base in the Rocky Mountains, far from the prying eyes of the conclave's monitoring stations. Chief Engineer Olivia Barnes wiped sweat from her forehead as she studied the alien tech salvaged from a crashed scout ship. The Conclave hadn't even bothered to hide their activities, confident that humans were too primitive to understand their technology. They made a mistake leaving this behind, Olivia muttered as she connected the final wire. The shield generator hummed to life, creating a bubble that sensors couldn't penetrate. They think we're just copying their toys. They don't realize we're improving them. In another section of the base, Colonel Frank Summers watched as his soldiers trained with weapons reverse-engineered from alien designs. The men and women moved with precision, their faces determined. Again, Frank ordered, "Remember, their armor is weakest at the joints. Aim there." The soldiers nodded and resumed their drills. They had 6 months before the Conclave returned in force. 6 months to prepare for a fight no one thought they could win. Above them, Director Susan Miller stood at the viewing window. "Will they be ready?" she asked. Frank looked up at her. "They'll have to be." On the surface, Earth appeared to accept its role as a conclave protectorate. Human representatives nodded politely at alien demands, signed away mining rights to the Moon and Mars, and expressed gratitude for guidance from superior beings. Meanwhile, UDI planted dormant satellites throughout the solar system, creating an intelligence network that monitored all conclave activity. They learned the aliens' routines, weaknesses, and most importantly, their arrogance. The conclave began harvesting helium-3 from Jupiter's moons without asking permission. They set up automated mining operations, unconcerned about the environmental impact. When Earth scientists raised questions, the aliens dismissed them. The bipeds do not understand resource management. The blue-skinned alien told his subordinates, "Their concerns are irrelevant." Captain Eric Davis commanded the small science vessel Horizon, officially monitoring Jupiter's weather patterns. Unofficially, he was gathering intelligence on conclave mining operations. "They're stripping Europa down to its core," Eric reported to UDI headquarters. "At this rate, the moon will collapse within a decade." His science officer, Linda Watts, pointed to her screen. "Captain, they've detected us. Conclave ship approaching." The alien vessel dwarfed the horizon, its weapons systems active. The transmission was brief. "Primitive vessel, you are interfering with conclave operations. Withdraw immediately." Eric opened a channel. "This is Captain Davis of Earth. We're conducting peaceful research in our own solar system. We have every right to be here." The alien commander appeared on screen, his insectoid features unreadable. "Rights? You have no rights, Bite. This system belongs to the conclave now." "Jupiter is part of our home system," Eric insisted. "We've been studying it for centuries." The alien made a clicking sound. "And animals have lived in forests for millennia. That doesn't make the trees theirs." Without warning, the alien ship fired. The Horizon exploded, killing all 27 crew members aboard. The Conclave reported the incident as an unfortunate accident. The primitive human vessel had strayed too close to dangerous equipment. They offered condolences and suggested Earth vessels stay closer to home for their own safety. In the UDI command center, Susan Miller watched the recording of the Horizon's destruction, recovered from their emergency beacon. Her fingers tightened on the edge of the console until her knuckles turned white. "They didn't even consider it murder," she said quietly. Jack Morrison, now working as a UDI communications specialist, shook his head. "To them, it's like stepping on an ant." Susan straightened her shoulders and turned to the room full of Earth's best military and scientific minds. "Then it's time they learned that ants can bite. Start Project Phoenix. We're done playing nice." Around the table, heads nodded. The silent response was over. Now, Earth would prepare for war. 5 years had passed since first contact. To the Conclave, Earth remained a quiet protectorate, valuable only for its resources. The aliens never bothered to look too closely at what happened in the shadows. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Alan Foster adjusted the final settings on his latest engine design. Around him, engineers watched nervously as the prototype hummed to life. "Full power in 3, 2, 1, Alan said, pressing the activation button. The engine glowed bright blue before settling into a steady pulse. The energy readings climbed higher than anything the conclave ships had demonstrated. "It works," someone whispered. Alan smiled. "Better than works. It's twice as efficient as their best drives, and 3 times as fast." News of the successful tests spread quickly through secure UDI channels. In orbit around Neptune, hidden from alien sensors by the planet's magnetic field, Earth's secret fleet grew. 30 ships now, with more under construction in underwater facilities and hollowed-out asteroids. On the Moon's dark side, Major Kate Bennett watched her Space Marines train in the low-gravity environment. They moved with practiced ease, their specialized armor making them nearly invisible against the lunar surface. "Switch to night vision," Kate ordered. "Remember, many conclave species can't see in the same spectrum we do. Use that advantage." The soldiers activated their visors and continued their exercises. 5 years of constant training had transformed them into the most elite fighting force in human history. Meanwhile, the conclave's presence in the solar system grew more intrusive. Without warning or discussion, they began terraforming operations on Mars, releasing engineered microbes that would eventually create an atmosphere suitable for their colonists. The problem: Mars already hosted 7 human research outposts with over 300 scientists and support staff. The alien microbes made the air toxic to humans. Dr. Nancy Chen led the largest research team at Olympus Base. She recorded the changes as red dust clouds swirled outside the facility's windows. "Oxygen levels falling," she reported via secure channel. "We have maybe 3 days before our filters can't compensate." UDI ordered an immediate evacuation, but the conclave ships blocked their path. "Return to your habitats," the alien commander instructed. "This world is being prepared for proper utilization. Your presence is disruptive to the process." "There are people down there," the human pilot argued. "They'll die if they stay." The alien's translator conveyed its indifference. "Then they should leave more quickly. The transformation will not be delayed for primitive concerns." Admiral William Hayes received this transmission in the UDI command center. His jaw tightened as he looked at the desperate messages coming from the Mars outposts. "How many ships do we have near Mars?" he asked. 2 stealth vessels," Susan Miller replied. "They're observing the terraform operation." William made his decision. "Send the order. Get our people out. If the conclave interferes—" He paused, knowing this would change everything. "They have permission to engage." Across the room, eyes widened. This would be the first direct military action against the conclave. Once this line was crossed, there would be no going back. As evacuation ships approached Mars, Dr. Chen and her team hurried to gather essential research. Suddenly, alien troops transported directly into the facility. "You will vacate immediately," the insectoid soldier commanded. "This structure will be dismantled." Nancy stood her ground. "We're still gathering critical data. Give us 1 more hour." The alien raised its weapon. "Your data is irrelevant. Exit now or be removed." Before it could fire, the alien's head jerked back. It collapsed to the floor as the sound of the gunshot echoed through the room. A human figure in stealth armor appeared at the doorway. "Dr. Chen, I'm Lieutenant Greg Powell, UDI Special Forces. We're here to bring you home." As the rescue teams extracted the Mars scientists, conclave ships moved to intercept. For the first time, humans fired on alien vessels. The awakening giant had finally shown its teeth. News of the Mars incident spread quickly through the conclave. Humans had destroyed 3 alien ships during the evacuation. The conclave leadership dismissed it as a lucky accident. Their reports described it as primitive vessels causing damage through suicidal collision tactics. They couldn't accept that human weapons had deliberately targeted and destroyed their advanced ships. Commander Diane Powell received new orders from Admiral Hayes. Her ship, the Defiance, would intercept conclave mining operations at Saturn's moon Titan. Unlike Mars, UDI wouldn't wait for an emergency. This time, they would act first. "We're approaching Titan's dark side," the navigator said. "Conclave ships detected. 5 large mining vessels and 2 military escorts." Diane nodded. "Activate stealth systems. Position us between their military ships." The Defiance slipped between the alien vessels without detection. 2 more human ships took positions nearby. For the first time, humans would directly challenge the Conclave's activities. "Open communications," Diane ordered. The alien commander appeared on screen, his crystalline form shifting colors in surprise. "This is Commander Powell of Earth Defense. Your mining operation on Titan is damaging a moon within our solar system. You will cease activities immediately and withdraw." The alien's colors flashed in what seemed like amusement. "Bipeds have no authority here. Return to your planet before you embarrass yourselves further." "This is not a request," Diane replied. "Our scans show your mining techniques are destabilizing Titan's core. This threatens the entire Saturn system. Your primitive scans are irrelevant. We have harvested resources from 1,000 worlds. Your concerns are noted and dismissed." As they spoke, Lieutenant Peter Brown led a small team onto the main conclave mining ship. Thanks to the stealth technology developed by Olivia Barnes, they moved through the alien vessel undetected. Peter accessed the ship's computer system. What he found chilled him to the bone. "Commander," he reported through his secure comm, "I found their operation plans. They're not just mining Titan. They're extracting core materials to test processing techniques." "Processing for what?" Diane asked. Peter's voice was grim. "For Earth. They plan to begin planetary processing in 6 months. They're going to strip mine our homeworld." On the bridge of the Defiance, Diane's face hardened. She opened the channel to the conclave ships again. "This is your final warning. Cease operations, or we will stop you by force." The crystal alien made a sound like shattering glass. Laughter. "Force. You have no concept of force, little animal. Your species is barely past throwing rocks." Diane cut the transmission. "Target their mining equipment. Disable only." Human weapons fire struck with precision, destroying the mining drills without damaging the ship's life support systems. The conclave vessels responded with immediate counterattacks, but found their targeting systems confused by human stealth technology. The battle at Titan lasted less than 20 minutes. When it ended, all conclave mining equipment was destroyed, and 1 alien military vessel drifted powerless. The other alien warship retreated, carrying news of the defeat. Peter and his team extracted successfully, bringing valuable data about conclave plans. But they also brought something else: video evidence of captured humans in the mining ship. "They've been experimenting on them," Peter reported, his voice shaking, "testing different processing chemicals. These are scientists who went missing from the Neptune observation post last year." The UDI had believed those scientists died in an accident. Now they knew the truth. Admiral Hayes viewed the evidence from Earth. His decision was immediate. "Recall all covered ships. Activate the defense grid. The Conclave will retaliate with everything they have." Within hours, reports arrived of a massive alien fleet entering the solar system. Hundreds of ships, all heading toward Earth. In command centers across the planet, humans prepared for the real fight. The Conclave was coming to punish the primitive species for its disobedience. They were about to learn how wrong they had been. The Conclave fleet moved through the outer solar system like a swarm of angry wasps. 137 warships, each capable of destroying a city. Their message to Earth was simple: surrender or be eliminated. Admiral Hayes stood in the UDI command center, watching the holographic display of the approaching fleet. Around him, military leaders from every major nation waited for his order. "They expect us to beg for mercy," he said quietly. "They still think we're animals." He pressed a button on the command console. "Deploy the fleet." Hidden bases across the solar system opened. From the dark side of the moon, from beneath Mars' polar ice caps, from camouflaged asteroid stations, Earth ships emerged. 78 vessels, smaller than the alien warships but built with one purpose: to defend humanity. Chief Tactician Ryan King stepped forward. "Admiral, I recommend we use the Jupiter strategy." Hayes nodded. "Make it happen." Ryan had spent years studying conclave battle tactics. They always attacked in the same predictable patterns, never adapting. They had never needed to evolve their strategies because no species had challenged them in centuries. The human fleet split into smaller groups, drawing the conclave forces into Jupiter's complex gravitational field. The gas giant's dozens of moons created a maze of gravity wells that the human ships navigated with ease. On the bridge of the UDI flagship Defender, Admiral Hayes watched the first engagement begin. Human vessels darted between Jupiter's moons, firing precisely before disappearing again. The larger conclave ships struggled to follow, their weapons often hitting their own vessels in the confusion. "They're not used to fighting an enemy they've underestimated," Ryan observed. Dr. Lisa Wright, now head of Alien Communications Intelligence, monitored conclave transmissions. "They're confused," she reported. "Listen to this." She played an intercepted message. "The bipeds have weapons that should be beyond them. This is not possible. Their ships cannot be operated by primitive minds." Lisa smiled grimly. "They still can't accept that we built these ships ourselves." The battle raged across the Jupiter system for hours. Human ships took losses, 17 destroyed, 12 damaged. But the conclave fleet lost 39 vessels, with more crippled and retreating. Captain Michelle Clark commanded the assault ship Lightning. Her target was the conclave flagship, a massive vessel twice the size of any other alien ship. "All hands, prepare for direct assault," she ordered. "Stealth systems to maximum." The Lightning slipped past the flagship's escorts, using the chaos of battle as cover. Once underneath the massive ship, they attached specialized breaching pods to the hull. "Boarding teams, go," Michelle ordered. Led by Major Kate Bennett, the Space Marines cut through the alien hull and stormed the flagship. The conclave crew, unused to direct combat, fell back in disarray. They had never expected primitives to board their command vessel. Kate's team fought their way to the bridge. The alien admiral, a tall blue-skinned being with 4 arms, stared in shock as humans entered his command center. "Impossible," he said. "You are not capable of this." Kate removed her helmet. "That's your problem. You never bothered to find out what we're capable of." Throughout the solar system, the battle shifted. Human ships coordinated perfectly, using tactics the Conclave had never seen. The defense grid activated, revealing thousands of automated weapons platforms hidden in space. In the UDI command center, Admiral Hayes received reports of Conclave ships retreating. Not just a few, but all of them. The aliens were abandoning the attack. Lisa Wright decoded the final transmission from the captured flagship. "Fall back to defensive positions. The primitive species possesses unexpected capabilities. Prepare for full war protocols." Hayes looked around the room at Earth's leaders. This was just the beginning. They'll be back with everything they have. Susan Miller nodded. "But now they know we can fight. And we've captured their flagship with their senior command staff." For the first time in Conclave history, they had been defeated by a species they considered primitive. The price of their arrogance was already high, but it would climb much higher. The capture of the Conclave flagship changed everything. Earth now had access to alien star charts, communication networks, and most importantly, the location of other species who suffered under Conclave rule. Ambassador Daniel Green stood before the United Nations, the blue-skinned Conclave admiral, in restraints beside him. "For 6 years, we have endured the Conclave's contempt," Daniel said. "Now we have proof they planned to strip our planet and destroy our species." Screens around the room displayed images from the captured ship's database, plans for Earth's processing, and records of similar operations on 12 other worlds. Billions of lives erased because the Conclave deemed them non-sentient. The time for hiding is over, Daniel continued. Today, we take our case to the stars. A bold plan took shape. While Earth prepared for the Conclave's return, diplomatic teams would reach out to other oppressed species. The captured flagship, renamed Freedom, would carry Earth's message beyond the solar system. You will fail, the Blue Admiral told Daniel as they prepared the ship. The Conclave rules thousands of worlds. Your rebellion is meaningless. Daniel studied the alien with pity. That's why you'll lose. You still don't understand what drives us. Intelligence specialist Kevin Johnson had discovered something crucial in the Conclave files. Many member species had joined only after threats or demonstrations of force. Their loyalty was built on fear, not respect. We need to show them a different way, Kevin explained to the mission team. Some of these species have technologies that complement our own. Together, we could be stronger than the Conclave ever was. The Freedom departed Earth with a combined crew of humans and freed Conclave prisoners who opposed their government's methods. Their first destination was Proxima Centauri, home to a species recently forced into Conclave membership. Daniel led the diplomatic mission, the Proximan leaders. Unlike the Conclave, he approached them with respect, speaking to them as equals. We don't offer protection or demand obedience, he told them. We offer partnership. The Conclave fears what different species can accomplish together. They want us divided and weak. The Proximans, insect-like beings with advanced biological technology, were suspicious at first. But when Daniel shared evidence of the Conclave's true plans, their attitude changed. They told us Earth was a primitive world of no importance, the Proximan leader said. Yet you defeated their fleet and captured their flagship. Perhaps we have been deceived about much more. Similar scenes played out across nearby star systems. Dr. Alan Foster shared propulsion technology with the crystalline beings of Tau Ceti. They offered their knowledge of quantum communications in return. Each exchange strengthened the growing alliance. Back on Earth, Olivia Barnes and her team raced to incorporate new technologies from allied species. The combined knowledge accelerated human development by centuries in mere months. When the Freedom returned to Earth, it brought representatives from 7 species, all united by their desire to end Conclave dominance. Together, they drafted a new charter for interstellar cooperation based on mutual respect and shared progress. The Conclave response was swift and furious. In an emergency session of their ruling council, they declared the human contagion must be eliminated completely. The Blue Admiral's replacement, a ruthless insectoid commander, prepared the largest fleet in Conclave history. We will burn their world to ash, he announced. Then we will discipline all who have been corrupted by their influence. Word of this declaration reached Earth through Allied intelligence networks. Admiral Hayes called an emergency meeting of human and alien leaders. The Conclave is gathering their entire fleet, he reported. They're coming to destroy Earth and anyone who stands with us. A Proximan representative raised her slender limb. Then we will stand together. One by one, the representatives pledged their support. The alliance had held. Earth would not face the Conclave alone. For the first time in galactic history, the Conclave faced united opposition. The final battle would decide the fate of not just humanity, but countless species across the stars. The final battle would not take place at Earth. Admiral Hayes and the Allied commanders chose to take the fight to the Conclave's central hub in the Rigel system. Better to meet the enemy on chosen ground than risk damage to their homeworlds. The Allied fleet gathered near Pluto, ships from 7 different species forming the largest cooperative force the galaxy had ever seen. At its heart was the newest Earth vessel, the Hope, commanded by Admiral Hayes himself. All ships report ready, his communications officer announced. Hayes nodded. Then it's time. Execute jump sequence. Using the advanced drive systems developed by Dr. Foster and improved by their alien allies, the fleet made the journey to Rigel in hours rather than years. They arrived to find the Conclave forces scrambling to respond to the unexpected approach. Dr. Olivia Barnes watched from the Hope's engineering deck as her creation powered down. The quantum disruption weapon took up half the ship's storage space, but if it worked as designed, it would change the course of the battle. "Weapon is charged and ready," she reported. On the bridge, Hayes gave the order. "Target their central command station. Fire." The weapon released invisible waves that disrupted the quantum field around the Conclave's massive space station. Their shields flickered and failed. The insectoid Conclave commander watched in disbelief as primitive weapons pierced their defenses. "Impossible," he clicked. "They are animals. This cannot be happening." Commander Diane Powell led the first assault wave, targeting the Conclave's key defense platforms. Her ships moved in perfect coordination with alien allies, supporting each other's strengths and covering weaknesses. "They're falling back to secondary positions," Diane reported. "Their formations are breaking." Lisa Wright monitored Conclave communications from the Hope. "They're arguing among themselves," she said. "Several ships are questioning orders. They didn't expect us to be able to fight like this." The Conclave had never faced a united enemy before. Their strategy relied on overwhelming force against isolated targets. Against a coordinated alliance fighting as one, their tactics failed. As the space battle raged, a smaller mission launched toward the heart of Conclave power. Commander Powell led a mixed team of humans and aliens into the headquarters itself. Lieutenant Jack Morrison, now a senior communications officer, accompanied them. "Their central chamber is 2 levels down," Jack said, reading from captured schematics. "That's where the leadership will be." They fought their way through corridors, facing increasingly desperate resistance. In the central chamber, they found the Conclave's ruling council preparing to activate their final option. "They're initiating a doomsday protocol," Jack warned, reading the alien controls. "They're targeting Earth with a quantum collapse weapon." The Conclave leaders turned as the assault team burst in. "You are too late, primitives," the lead counselor said. "Your homeworld will be erased from existence. The countdown cannot be stopped." Jack studied the controls. "I can redirect it, but the targeting system is locked. I need to get inside to change it." "That would be suicide," Diane said. Jack smiled grimly. "Sometimes animals bite back." Before anyone could stop him, Jack inserted himself into the targeting interface. His mind merged with the alien system, allowing him to redirect the weapon away from Earth toward an uninhabited star. The weapon fired. Jack Morrison died instantly, but Earth was saved. With their final weapon expended and their leadership captured, the Conclave resistance collapsed. Throughout the galaxy, news spread of their defeat. Subjugated species rose up against local governors. In the aftermath, Ambassador Green stood before the remains of the Conclave Council. "You could have welcomed us as equals," he said. "Instead, you chose contempt. That was your mistake." "What happens now?" a counselor asked. "Now we build something better," Daniel replied. "The Accord, a new coalition where all sentient species have equal voice and rights." 1 year later, representatives from 32 species gathered on Earth to sign the founding charter of the Accord. The former Conclave members, now freed from tyranny, joined as equal partners. The human homeworld, once dismissed as home to mere animals, became known across the galaxy as the birthplace of a new era of cooperation. The price of underestimating humanity had been the fall of an empire.